So today, the video is titled, What were your biggest fears about relationships before us? Now let's get straight to it. Before we met, what was your biggest fear about being in a relationship?
The biggest fear about being in a relationship was, let's pause. Keep going.
And then we'll edit it out.
Right. So, well, the biggest fear about being in a relationship before me and you was the idea of being hurt again. The longest relationship I had been in before us was with my son's father. We were together for 10 and a half years. And so after that period, when our relationship ended, I was like, okay, I don't want to be hurt again. Just don't want to be hurt again. That was one of the biggest fears, even when I dated other men after my son's father. I always kept that in mind of not being hurt again. So that was one of my biggest fears.
Was there like a specific past experience that made you cautious about commitment or love?
Okay, yes. I have to go back to my son's father and our relationship. We were together for 10 and a half years. I thought it would end in marriage. Not so much end in marriage, but result in marriage, and it did not. So my idea or my mindset was never again, and I'm not gonna be in a relationship for 10 and a half years with anyone and not have gotten married, not have taken it to the next step or anything. So from that experience alone, and I know the emotions that were attached to it, was that fear of being hurt again, especially by another man, and me loving that person, and then yet I feel that I would get the short end of the stick. I didn't want that. So the experience of the 10 and a half year relationship with my son's father, that was it.
Do you think that there are people out there who are maybe also have the fear of getting into a relationship?
Yes, I believe both men and women. If a man or a woman has been hurt in a relationship, of course they don't want to be hurt again. So what does that lead to? A man or a woman not really committing to a man or a woman being in a relationship, because it makes it that much more easier to walk away. There are no strings attached, no commitments, no hurt, because you haven't really like set anything in place, locked anything down. No need to get hurt.
Now, how did you overcome that fear, and how would you, if you were talking to yourself during that time where you had that fear, how would you also advise yourself to do to overcome that fear?
Okay, so two-part question. What did I do to overcome the fear? And at that time, what would I tell my then self how to overcome it? Okay, so how I overcame the fear was I realized that I wasn't the problem. Or also too, it wasn't just me. How else can I put it? I recognized that my worth is much more than settling. So in order for me to continue to walk in the confidence or, hold on to my worth, I realized that I just had to try again. And just because I had the experience with my son's father for the 10.5 years doesn't necessarily mean the next guy would have me to wait 10.5 more years, because I wasn't gonna wait. So he couldn't have me wait, So really more so just putting myself out there and understanding that other guys are different from my son's father. Everyone is not the same. Everyone is built differently. Everyone has a different mindset. And so that's really what helped me to overcome that fear. Now, speaking to myself then, at that time, I would say, it's okay, move on. It's what they say, it's so many fish in the sea. Cast your net. Throw it out there. See what you get back. Don't just sit and wait on one person. I would just try again. That's it. It's okay.
What kind of relationship patterns did you see growing up, and how did they shape your fears, if they did?
The relationship patterns that I saw growing up, well, for one, my mother, she raised me by herself. My father was not in the household. And so in terms of, being raised by my mother, I didn't see a lot of men coming in and out of the house. I didn't see any of that. And I'm thankful to that, that my mother didn't create that environment for me to be in. Now, in terms of other relationships, I do know that even though my father wasn't in the household, and also my brother's father was not in the household either. So my mother raised me and my brother by herself. I always saw my mother being able to get along with both of her kids' fathers. Despite whatever went on, despite whatever happened, I never heard her talk any negative things about either one of them. And so, me seeing my mother create that type of environment for me, I'm like, everybody should get along. That was just my idea. It didn't matter your circumstances, what happened, whatever somebody might have felt went right, went wrong. It can be worked out. Everybody get along. Everybody move on. So what? Just keep it moving. So that's pretty much what I saw growing up. I wasn't around a lot of married couples in terms of like my friends and everything. So I didn't get a chance to see a lot of that. I just knew my mother created an environment where everybody got along. And that's, to this day, that's how I feel. Despite the circumstances, everybody get along.
Now, of course, seems like you had a little different way of upbringing. If you look into the society now, how do you think the way everything is going on is shaping people's fears into that would cause them to be scared of getting into a new relationship after being hurt?
Based on what's going on now?
How do you think people are coping with it based on what they see all the time?
Now, from what I see that takes place in society, it's a lot of drama. It's a lot of drama, boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, the mother and the father, they're in conflict. And I believe because a lot of people have that "I'ma get you back" mentality, that revenge mentality, they take it to a whole nother level that it's not even necessary. So instead of trying to talk something out, work something out, they're using violence. Whether it's, you know, a woman putting her hands on a man putting his hands on a woman, whether, you know, the man or the woman violating the other person's personal property. You have a lot of that going on, and that creates a lot of anger and hurt. Now, don't get me wrong, some people thrive off of that. They like it. That gives them that adrenaline rush that they want. However, there's still anger and hurt that's being taking place underneath all of that. And so I think in with today's society, the fear, you know, like, I wouldn't want to get in a relationship with someone, just say for example, and I may have heard that he's done A, B, C, X, Y, Z, he's put his hand on Keisha, Tina, you know, whoever. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. That's kind of like a fear, you know? Maybe a great person just to talk to in conversation, but you've heard other things, so you're like, nah, no, I'm okay. And so as a woman, you just kind of keep to yourself and you just kind of keep moving on. But then also too, it's a mindset thing. Have to change your mindset. If you constantly think fear in a relationship, that is what you'll get back.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned mindset, because I want to ask, you know, you often hear a lot from people saying that they're struggling, either stuck with the same person, not ending up getting married, or looking for a guy that would want commitment, but they're not finding that guy. Do you think what do you think is the biggest challenge that they're facing? Is fear one of them, or is there other challenges? Like, what are the other what are the challenges that they face that are either keeping them stuck in the same relationship, or not letting them get to that relationship that they want to get to?
Well, something that may be keeping them stuck is they don't believe that they can leave. They believe they have to stay. They believe he or she needs them. Like the other person is dependent or codependent on them. So they think they have to stay. And then also too, another reason why they may be stuck or seem to be stuck is that maybe they are afraid to leave. Maybe the other person is abusive, you know, whether it's physical or verbally. Also too, going to the second question in terms of what's preventing them from going out and, you know, just say meeting new people, whatever the case may be. Could be that they have not confronted or faced the experiences they've dealt with in the past, with past men. Because oftentimes, if you don't face that, it's almost kind of like you're just staying in a box. And staying in that box is not going to get you anywhere. You say you want a date, you say you want a boyfriend, you say you want a husband, okay. But if you don't deal with you, then the baggage, as we call baggage, the experiences that you have with previous people, you're going to carry that into the next relationship. And then two, if you just say you decide that you don't want to face the past experiences, just say you want to continue to carry baggage. But if you don't go outside the house or put yourself in an environment where there are other people, other men, you're not going to meet anybody. So you have to position yourself. Put yourself out there. If that's what you want to do.
Last question. The last question is, what would you say is the biggest or primary purpose of being in a relationship with somebody? If it's a long commitment or it's a long-term commitment, what do you think is the primary purpose of that? Because you have sometimes people thinking, okay, I get there, then what? So what's the primary purpose?
The primary purpose of being in a long-term relationship, that's what you're asking, right? Okay. For me, this is just me. Primary purpose of being in a long-term relationship is being able to show love, give love, be love, act in love to someone else other than yourself. Being selfless. Being able to do for someone else with pleasure. Being able to do for someone else, I'm not gonna say without a complaint, but being able to do for someone else in a serving way. And not only that, from the love aspect, being able to be in partnership with someone, being able to grow with that person, being able to be their rock and they be your rock, being able to be a strength where they may be weak, and they be a strength where you may be weak. You know, it's a scripture in the Bible. I don't know the exact verse, but it talks about two are better than one. When you have two people come together, or two heads to come together and think, you can get a lot more done than just you thinking yourself. Not saying that you can't get anything done by thinking by yourself or doing things by yourself. Two just makes it that much better. So being in a long-term commitment or relationship, the purpose of the two people being together is to grow, is to thrive, is to be able to lift each other up. Definitely not tearing anyone down. Not each other, for sure. If you find anybody that's tearing you down, that's not what you're looking for. There is no purpose in that relationship. You need to let that relationship go. So yes, definitely primary purpose of being in a long-term relationship: grow, love, spend time with each other, water each other, be a nutrient. Allow you to be a nutrient to the other person and they be a nutrient to you. Definitely no deficiencies or depletions in that relationship. So yeah, just an overall loving, kind, growing, watering relationship. Alright? That's it.